Welcome in to Friday Night Pop Blender Unfiltered. All right, another Friday night, another good week, and finally, a good movie. A good movie to actually talk about. So this should be interesting. Now, if you didn't get any notifications or if you happen to see my community tab or whatever, just to let everybody know, this is a spoiler-free review of Deadpool Wolverine. I just want everybody to be aware of that and know that I'm going to do my best to not spoil anything. And I don't want anybody, I want you guys to see this movie for what it is. We'll go over in a little while how this movie is not going to save the MCU or the MCU, as it's been called recently, and should continue to be until that is changed. Um, but yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great popcorn flick. It's a great summer movie. Probably really the only one that we're gonna get ultimately. And once we got through all the trailers and commercials that seem to inundate our films these days before you get to actually watch it, um, at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to get into that in just a couple minutes. Let a few people kind of roll in if they want to. I do see, and we'll just throw a little "What's up" chat here to the screen. See Eric Thurman stopping by. What's up? Glad to see you here. Always frequent visitor to many a stream that I tend to watch, and I'm glad you're here, man. I really appreciate it. Shark Eyes in the land down under, stopping by, hang out with us for a little while, man. I appreciate it too, Shark Eyes. And as we get rolling, we'll get a few more people, I'm sure, here and there. But you know me, I will scream and talk into the void if I have to. David R is here as well. What's going on, David? Good to see you here as well, man. 3-star draw, doing some video editing. He'll have to be going back and forth, as I know what a pain in the butt that is, trying to edit a YouTube video and have something going on in the background. I'm such an ADHD type of person. It's really difficult for me to not have something playing. So when I try to sit down and hunker down, as they say, it's so difficult for me because it's like some people are great at sitting down, reading a book, and just diving in, right? You can tune everything out. Some people are really great at watching a TV show from the beginning to the end, or a movie from beginning to end with no interruptions. I am not one of those people. It's difficult for me to really sit still at all times. And if you watch enough of these streams, you'll see me fidgeting and moving the mic and moving back and forth and in my chair. And those are all probably the things they tell people when they go to become a television personality or a news person or even an actor, right? Is it needs to be really controlled, and you've got to maintain contact with the camera, or at the very least let the camera work for you, but you can't be moving around all the time. And I don't know if I could do that. I really don't. It would take some intense brainwashing, intense modification of my behavior and the way that I am as a person. I will tell a quick story, just kind of kicking off here. I remember years ago, this is probably back in around 2008, no, 2010-ish. We had something kind of horrific happen on my street. It was a terrible story. It was a young lady that was followed from a Walmart, and then someone abducted her newborn baby and fled to Alabama, where they eventually caught the suspect and arrested her. And I should probably look that story up now. I have no idea what happened to the lady, but when it happened on the very end of my street on the corner. And the news came out and sent what's called a one-man band. And a one man band in the news industry, your local news in particular, is they will send a correspondent who can film with a tripod and set it up and just kind of do their own video. They don't need a camera crew. They don't need extra bodies. They don't even really need a van. In essence, they can toss a camera and the tripod in the back of their car. They can head out and set the tripod up, block their shot, get in camera view, and then do a report. And a lot of them these days do, just from a saving money aspect in particular. And I'll never forget, I see police cars and stuff, down the street. I'm kind of like, well, what's going on? And my son was almost 2 years old. He was pretty little. He's almost 2 years old. And this guy comes walking down the road. He's got a camera. He's got a tripod. He's like, hey, just wanted to see if any neighbors would want to talk about what happened. Um, I think at this point I had talked to a police officer, and also I guess maybe had heard a little bit about what happened. This might have been like the next day, 2 days later. And so I remember doing an interview for one of the news channels here, one of the channels here in their news program. And I will never forget it for the rest of my life because I recorded it at the time on a DVR, and I went back and watched it several times. I shared it with people. But I remember going back and watching the footage and watching me fidget and move around and turn my head and, stammer over my words and all that stuff as I'm doing, they're interviewing just somebody about this thing that happened. And I'm just looking all over and I'm just talking. And then they took video of my son trying to walk up the little hill and then kind of falling back down. And, they tied that into like, people with young children. And this is a terrible story. And, but I'll never forget that for the rest of my life because it was so bad. It was so bad. And then I watch other people, just regular everyday people getting interviewed, and they're able to focus and look at the camera. They don't turn their head. They're not, they know they have the ability to speak. And it's so funny because when I watch my own stuff, we're our own worst critic, right? So when I watch my own stuff and I'm just like, oh my God, can you stop moving? Can you stop saying that phrase? Do you need to do that every time? Do you need to grab and reposition the mic? It sounds like it's in a pretty good spot. Looks like it's in a good spot, but I can't help it. And so nonetheless, if you watch enough of these streams, you'll see me moving and looking and all that stuff. And I am kind of a one-man band in a sense, one-man band. So I'm checking my camera, bringing up web pages, talking at the same time, trying to retain my thoughts. And so it's funny, just I guess how that ties back around to the interviewer and the interviewee. But anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna provide a review on Deadpool and Wolverine, and we'll get to that in just a second. Just see a few people roll in. Got the word out. For anybody that's doing YouTube, just so you know, live streams are not really the way to gain a bigger audience, or at the very least, gain more subscriptions. I love doing them because I feel very comfortable doing a live stream. It's not to say I'm not comfortable doing a video. However, I feel comfortable talking and just hanging out and kind of reacting off the cuff. I'm a very off the cuff type of person. My life has been off the cuff for a long time, or been that way really forever. And so I feel very comfortable doing live streams, but they are definitely not the way to build subscriptions and build viewers. But as long as people come back and hang out, I'm always love to do it. So, and hopefully from here on out. And then Todd C. Hey, Todd drops in, says, I came here to get my pop blender patch. You know what? If you are referring to the new HasLab, if not, and you're referring to some merch, I don't know. Maybe there will be a patch. Maybe there will be a shirt out there one day. We'll see. And you and me both, Eric. I like hanging out too. I've told people I watch YouTube from morning to night. It is my it's just my thing. It's what I do. I don't watch TV. I'd say a lot of people don't watch TV anymore, and a lot of people watch YouTube to get their news. You know. And Joshua Payne is here. What's going on, man? Good to see you, buddy. Always love to see you, man. You talk about a deep thinking guy. Joshua Payne is definitely one of those people. A wonderful conversationalist, and he is a wonderful person. Somebody that I do know. But yes, I'm glad to see you here. And Stevie D, Steve Dagenhart, Stevie D. That's my best friend, going back to like seventh, eighth grade, roughly. And so if he's got the time to hang out, I'm always appreciative of that. And then we'll see who all rolls in here. In the meantime, how is everybody doing? You had a good Friday night. You had a good week. You know, work week's at an end, but for some of us in the service industry, that doesn't really mean anything. That could mean that your work week is beginning. I know for somebody like myself, you get those off days on a Wednesday or a Friday, maybe if you're lucky, a Friday. For me, having my son every other weekend, every other Friday is always cool to have. Every other weekend really off is always really nice to have. And but yeah, like a lot of service industry people, restaurant people, they've got Monday off, Tuesday off, and the weekends is where they really dig in and make their money. Um, but for me, I've been able to carve out a nice little niche, and with some great people, and I'm at a good place. So hopefully, all of y'all are having a good week and a good kickoff to the weekend. Um, Eric, I did not get the Deadpool pin. The theater I was going to, they really handed out nothing. Now, was that Deadpool pin associated with like the 3D or the RPX or the 4D as they call it? I'd considered going to the one where they have the chairs and they move and they spray stuff and they have fog and all that stuff. But man, those tickets, I took my son today, and those tickets are so expensive, man. And it doesn't mean that I wouldn't spend the money on me or my son by any means. But I didn't know if that was something that actually would have came in handy with a movie like this. I had thrown it out there Tuesday night about maybe going to see it that way. And Eric says, yeah, it is. But once I was taking my son, I was like, because my son even mentioned this because I brought it up to him. Yeah, the 3D XD, Eric. That's right. So I had mentioned this to my son while we're standing in line, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to see?" I had already bought the tickets, but I said, "Would you want to see it in like the 4D or whatever?" And he was like, if it was a movie like All Quiet on the Western Front, something where there's fog and the stench of war or something like that, I could totally see seeing a movie like that. A horror movie maybe, right? Um, but in this movie, ultimately I just didn't think it would actually really make a difference. And so I opted out of those tickets. But if any of y'all go to see it that way, let me know, because I definitely am curious and would love to know what it was like. And I may go back by myself and watch it again. I'd love to see this movie again. I think it's a fantastic movie. I think everybody should see it, especially if you are interested in the I say MCU. This is not an MCU movie. It's just not. It is a uh, Deadpool movie. And do they have some MCU stuff in it? They do. Um, a little more than I probably cared to have, if that makes sense. Um, but uh, but at the end of the day, this is really not tying in anything else. We're not going to see it's from an after credits perspective, whatever, post credits, mid credit, whatever. Nothing setting anything up. I would advise all of you, however, to stay away from X. Because if you just happen to stumble upon X, you're probably going to come across some going to come across some spoilers. And there are a lot of spoilers, I would say, to be had in this movie. So without further ado, I tell you what, we're gonna go ahead and just kind of jump right into it. All right. So this is my official review. Um, yeah, yeah. I'll probably go back and watch it in that way. This is my official review of Deadpool and Wolverine, spoiler free. For those that haven't seen it, and anybody watching on replay that hasn't had a chance to go see it. Number one, I'm sure a lot of you know at least the premise, right? If you've watched any of the trailers, the premise is that Deadpool has been inactive for a few years, and he's getting not restless, but he's definitely searching. He wants to be a part of something, but he's living a normal life, a regular life. And so from that aspect, that our setup is kind of that, Deadpool is living a normal life, working a normal job, and then he gets dragged into something that is a major, major thing to be dragged into. I'm sure you guys have also seen in the trailers that it involves the TVA, Time Variance Authority from the Loki series. That's no mystery. If you've seen that show, then you totally understand. Um, that's one thing I didn't like about Marvel and them trying to tie the TV shows to the movies. And if you didn't see the TV show, then you couldn't understand what the movie was doing. And I just think all of that is convoluted and not necessary, but they went that direction. Let's hope they stop that direction. But anyway, so you know, the character of Deadpool, if you saw the first and second movie, they're just they're just great movies. They're fun movies. The jokes, yes, they're R-rated and they are violent. I mean, it is what it is. But they are just a freaking blast. And I think it's probably because it doesn't fall into the deconstruction argument about superheroes that I got into like last week maybe or the week before. It doesn't get into the deconstruction. It's just that you know, here's this guy and this is what he likes to do and he makes no bones about it. He's a smartass and but he's a good guy. At the end of the day, he's a good guy. Not a bad character. He's a good character. So those movies, the first and second Deadpool movies, don't fall under the deconstruction category that we've seen from some of our more recent stuff. Um, yes, War Chest Full of Toys is in, and he said, "Did somebody say the word violence? I'm in." Yeah, man. If you've seen those movies, you know what they're about. It's like if you go to a John Wick movie, you know what you're in for, right? So you can't be surprised. Now, I will tell you, my son has not watched Deadpool 1 or 2. So I tried to prep him a little bit and I tried to tell him now, there's going to be some jokes in this that may or may not go over your head. I don't know. There's going to be some violence in it. It's going to be pretty gory, but it's stylized and it's done in a really fun way. Sin City kind of, reminds me of that stylized violence. And from the opening scene, it is violent, but boy, is it great. And where the violence takes place per body parts makes it even more hilarious, even more fantastic. So that's not uncommon for the Deadpool movies. It's not uncommon at all. And the jokes that come along with that violence are in full swing. So basically from the first scene, act 1, we get obviously your setup, but we do get that very first scene, and it lasts several minutes, is top notch. It's great acting, got a fun song in it, a fun dance number. I would expect nothing less. And let's just face it, dude. Look, I'm going to tell you guys, 10 years ago, I had a girlfriend 10 years ago, over 10 years ago now, like 12, 13 years ago. And she loved Ryan Reynolds. And I was like, Ryan Reynolds is not a movie star. Like Ryan Reynolds is Van Wilder. I'm like, he is not a movie star. He was the guy in Waiting. I'm like, yes, he had been in some romantic comedies, but I was like, Ryan Reynolds is not a movie star. I don't understand why you like this guy so much. He's like, I just think he's awesome. I think he's so much fun. He's funny. He's great charisma. And I didn't see it 12 years ago, but you see it now on full display. Now, at his age, I don't know how long he's going to be able to get away with this. I don't, it's the Paul Rudd thing, we call it Paul Rudd. It's like he doesn't age. He's able to play someone with boyish charm forever. And, but he keeps getting away with it. And yes, there is a Paul Rudd joke in this movie. And it doesn't pertain to what you think it's going to pertain to. That's what makes it even better. So from the get up, right off the get go. Well, number one, okay, guys and gals on replay, live. When you go to a movie and there are 35 minutes of commercials and trailers, holy crap. The first 15 minutes alone were commercials, strictly commercials. Then we get 15 to 17 minutes of trailers. And unfortunately, in Hollywood today, there's not 15 minutes of trailers that are worth seeing. They're just not. And we laughed our way through several of them, my son included. But once we got like finally to the end of the commercials that were on preview, holy freaking moly, we looked at each other and just were like, are you serious? Another Google phone ad, another Samsung ad, it went on and on. It was quite amazing. So finally, when the movie started, there was one more flash that said, this trailer has been approved by the Motion Picture Audience Association, or whatever the hell. And it actually was kind of a lead in to the movie. So I was glad to see, at the very least, somewhat of a joke about it. But anyway, so from the get-go, Act 1, really good setup. You see a lot of people that you know from the first and second movie. And so yeah, it was good settling in. For somebody like my son who's not seen one or two of the movies, he doesn't really know anything. So the humor especially comes across is hilarious because he's getting introduced to this character in this movie. And for me, it's old hat, but it's still funny because it's funny. And Ryan Reynolds has a great delivery for comedy. He just does. Now, it might be the same kind of delivery that he's played with this character, but it's this character. He's doing this character. I think it's great. I think Act 2 has a little bit of drag, just a little bit. And real quick, let's just take a look and say, yes, Eric Thurman, he is our age. That's what's so funny about him playing a mid-20s character, and if you see him without the mask on, he's all burnt up, and the joke is that's what Ryan Reynolds looks like, right? Now they don't joke about that in the movie, but the going joke is like, that's actually Ryan Reynolds. That's what he looks like without the Deadpool hood, or his Ryan Reynolds makeup is actually the burned Ryan Reynolds. And then War Chest also says, I never go to a movie on time. I'm always about 15 minutes late. Well, from now on, I'm probably going to be 15 minutes late. The reason I'm on time to movies is because I love trailers. But unfortunately, it's been several years, really, since Marvel was in full swing, that I actually really wanted to be there for the trailers. Most movies coming out now, I don't care about. And the trailer, last thing I want to do is be there, when the movie starts. But the last thing I want to do is be there to sit through these god awful trailers. So I don't know, from now on, it's one of those things like I'm going to have to judge it, because some movies you don't know how many trailers it is. For one of these movies, I could have probably guessed and said, okay, it's probably going to be a bunch of them. And one of those trailers, yes, was a Gladiator movie, and that's no secret. They've been blasting that. I don't know what to think about that movie, Eric. I'm not sure yet. Will I see it in theaters? I don't know. Um, there's a couple lines in it that were a little cringeworthy, I guess. But even still, I'm just not quite sure about Gladiator yet. As we get closer, I'll take a look as we get closer. But I think that has a release date of maybe November ish, if I remember right. And yeah, Red Hulk. Obviously that's from the Captain Afro American movie coming out. Here soon. I don't know. I liked Falcon. I don't really care for him as Captain America. But we'll see. I may be there too. I'll just have to really see. And 3-Star Draw says, Waiting is one of the best comedies ever. Only problem with Ryan Reynolds is he's the same thing in every movie, but it is Deadpool. Yes, that's the thing. His comedy, it is Deadpool. That's what's so funny about it. And so I don't know, man. Like the getting there for that many previews, I don't want to experience that again. It took forever. And it's the first time I've really sat and really thought about it. And it really took a long time. But nonetheless, getting into the movie, first act, good build up, good jokes, gives you an idea, sets us up where we're at. Second act has a little bit of drag. It again, we're introducing characters. There are cameos, there are long cameos, but there's one great one. Right as we make our way, I guess, into act 2-ish, maybe. Great long cameo that is you're expecting one thing, and you get hit with another. And that was a lot of fun, especially with the MCU and everything involved there. And then really kind of the stakes. The only thing about the stakes in this movie that I wasn't crazy about is the villains. I just wasn't quite stoked about the villains. I was hoping for maybe something different. Not a big fan of the TVA. I did not really care for Loki. There were episodes I liked, but overall wasn't a big fan of Loki. But a big part of Loki is really the main crux of this movie. As a matter of fact, it is the movie. So it does rely on kind of the trope of the big thing that needs to be stopped. Of course, that's not unusual, and it's not unusual for hero movies. That's common. One movie that did it absolutely terribly was the Suicide Squad movie, the first one. If you guys remember, did you see that movie? The first Suicide Squad movie? That one was like the worst type of, we have to stop this big laser from the sky. It had become a meme by then at that point. And they totally went that direction. And that first Suicide Squad movie was just brutal. On top of the payoff of that type of villain. The villain here, I'd like to seen a better villain. There's basically maybe 2 villains, I guess, that you could rely on. But yeah, Act 2, we do get some character reflection, obviously with Wolverine being in this and it being the Time Variance Authority. We all have to understand that this is maybe not the same Wolverine that or that you want, and depending on what comic line you watched, or is it the X-Men movies, or is it whatever. I will say there's plenty of jokes at the expense of 20th Century Fox, who got bought out by Disney. There's plenty of jokes at the expense of Disney, which I loved. Anybody that watches me enough knows I'm going to enjoy that. And there's some really, there's some dirty jokes. There's some dirty jokes in this movie, and I loved every one of them. And my son is not a big fan of really overly dirty jokes. He's just not. As he told me today, he actually really is more of a rule follower. So much so, and I found this. I said astonishing. I thought it was a little funny is that he's like, look, if it has an R rating, then I'm probably not going to watch it. If it has if it's a I said, well, what about Grand Theft Auto? I said, you were playing Grand Theft Auto when you were like 11 years old. I was like, so don't tell me. He said, well, that's a video game. I said, it doesn't matter. Like it's only supposed to be sold to those who are like 18 and up, I think. But he's not a fan of overly crude humor, and he's not a fan of like I say improper usage of nudity or whatever, but just kind of just unnecessary, so to speak. Where when I was a kid, I'm sure most of y'all were probably like, oh, where's that part of the VHS tape back in Pause where the girl takes her top off, or the stupid, goofy vampire movie where these, like stuff like that. Like I know as a kid, I was always digging for that crap. And that's so funny. Number one, Eric Thurman says Fox and Disney got shit on. Yes, they did. And yes, he is family. I know, 3-star. That's what's funny about it. But like I said, I've told people before, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. And so but he found this movie absolutely hilarious. He loved all of those raunchy jokes, especially the ones at least I think he understood. I think he understood most all of them, but there are some that kind of if you don't really know, you don't know, and if you do know, you do know. And there were some probably that I know he definitely did not quite grasp, so to speak. And yeah, War Chest, I agree. I think that this 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 bad guy compared to Suicide Squad, I guess I could like more because of the way it ties in. Whereas Suicide Squad, it was very nonsensical. And for them to say, "Oh, we've got this witch and she's under our control as long as we have this." And it was like, well, you could see what was coming a million miles away, right? And yes, Todd C, he never played video games in the early 2000s. Lots of verbal abuse happened in the early COD days. Yeah, and really, he's not a big fan of those games either. He loves video games, but he is not a fan of online like Call of Duty and all that stuff. So he definitely does not get into those. But he did find it very funny, and I know he understood most of them. We had a group of girls that were sitting beside us. I don't really know what age they were, but they howled through the whole movie. They laughed at every joke, every dick joke, every butt joke, every gay joke, every whatever joke. They laughed at all of them, had a blast with it. And so that was fun. Like that was fun, having a group of girls, which again goes against this narrative. I mean, this is a movie that, again, by all metrics, is not for a modern audience, right? These are two middle-aged white guys going to fight, and we've been told that that's not what modern audiences really want. It has a female antagonist who is just basically evil. Now they try to somewhat set up. I say female. Well, there's more than one antagonist for one, but she is one of them. But they try to tell us it's from some kind of trauma. But there's a joke made about that. There's a joke made about Gen Zers and their trauma, and it's hilarious because it's so true when you look around the world, today. So yeah, I thought it was wonderful. I'm the way it wrapped up. The fight scenes, number one, the fight scene choreography is really good. There is some CGI involved, but it's not crazy heavy, at least not noticeably heavy, rather. A couple scenes you'll notice something, you'll look, and because those things don't register with your mind's eye just correctly, right? Like, it when you see it. and you go, ah, okay, that looked a little wonky. It's that uncanny valley kind of thing. But overall, I thought the action scenes were very well done. It requires a second watch because of the attention. You have two characters doing their own thing during their own fight scenes, and you need to be able to focus on one and then go back and focus on another, you know, um, or focus on the other guy. And so it kind of does require a second watch, not only to catch all the jokes, but during the fight scenes to be able to see what is going on with each character and the moves they do. And yeah, War Chest, War Chest full of choices. I'm so past the Gen Z crap, and I don't even want to watch the Olympics at this point. And I'm going to make a comment on that here momentarily. Eric Thurman, too, way better fight scene than the Acolyte, 137.645% better than anything the Acolyte did. And even people, and you may read articles that were giving this movie a 7 out of 10, a 6 out of 10, whatever. You may read articles like that. You might see a review on YouTube. This is this plot is really goofy and stupid. Yeah, I guess. Would I give it a 6 or 7 out of 10? I don't know if I'd go that low. Um, is there anything revolutionary in here? Does it tie into the MCU? Does it give us any more information moving forward? No. No, it does not. And anybody going to this movie thinking that, you're going to be sorely mistaken. Does it have kind of certain scenes or maybe certain things in it that don't quite land, certain jokes that maybe don't quite land? Yeah, there's a few, but I was consistently laughing throughout the whole thing. And I mean, good God, like who doesn't need a good laugh right now? Right? With everything going on, with Hasbro jacking up their pre-order stuff and their stream, and then the HasLab coming out early, and didn't even know all of a sudden the thing's up and ready to go, and they haven't even done their stream at San Diego Comic-Con, like, and that's just for people interested in that, let alone all the other crap going on right now in the world and in this country. We need a good laugh. We just do. And so, yeah, and 3 stars says, "Oh god, don't get me started. Oh, I know. Hell, you make another Hasbro video, and this time it's going to get 8,000 views. 10,000 views. Who knows?" But yeah. So nonetheless, fight choreography was good. There are times when you can tell if it's shot in real time. There are times you can tell Hugh Jackman has slowed down a bit. Ryan Reynolds might not be the fastest cat on the planet, right? We are looking at those X-Men movies, and they're from the year 2000 and beyond to come, moving forward, 20 plus years ago. So there are some instances where I saw a little slow to the take, right? Some movement sliding across a car hood, or maybe jumping or doing some, kind of move a little slower. But if they speed the film up in instances like that, then people can tell they sped it up. And so both of these actors are probably very physically fit and pulled a lot of this stuff off very well. Now, I don't know who the stunt people were. I don't know who the person that's in the Deadpool costume that's doing all these dance moves, because I just can't imagine that being Ryan Reynolds in there. And if it is, it makes it even more amazing, but I'm pretty sure it's not. But I do agree. I think character development was really good. I think Hugh Jackman kind of steals the show with some of the heavy dialogue, some of the heavy, and I mean emotionally heavy stuff he's supposed to carry. I do think that he does a great job on his end, and it's much more impactful. But we do get to see, Ryan Reynolds pulling off Deadpool in a point in his life where he, you know, kind of had a team ish, I guess. And then he, people die, things happen. But he's in a point in his life where he's just doing regular stuff and he's not being who he is. And so that's a classic tale, right? We've seen that tale. It could be a wrestler who stopped wrestling, a boxer who stopped boxing, right? It could be someone who gives up their passion, give up their passion to pursue the more correct uh, way in life. Oh, I need to become a manager. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? I need to start a family. That's what I'm supposed to do. I need, whatever those things are, I can fully understand it. And it gives those characters some weight and some depth. Wolverine, this particular Wolverine has gone through some heavy stuff. There's a lot of guilt. And I think that Hugh Jackman pulls it off really well. And Eric says Hugh went deep. Yeah, I think he did. And when you watch it, I mean, look, I'm gonna tell you right now, and I don't give a shit because I am unashamed. I am not bashful. I don't care because at this point, I just don't care. There were a couple scenes in this movie that brought a tear to my eye. I had one, in the right side of my eye kind of well up. There was a couple scenes where that happened. And I think the reason it happened for me is because of me looking back at my own life, thinking about when some of these other movies were made and what was going on in my life. And then you hear certain words and certain things that come up that a character says, and it gets your mind working, get your mind going. And so that happened to me a couple times. And, yeah, there was a couple, there's a couple tears in there. It's kind of goofy, but I am the type of person that actually, especially now, for whatever reason, will cry at a freaking commercial occasionally. Like, it's so weird. Let me get a little background. Kind of. So anyway, uh, let me see. Uh, you think also don't know you know, shit, shit. I hear you. I don't know. It may not make you cry with my son sitting there beside me, and knowing that knowing that these movies I saw, and in just a few years he's going to be the same age, right, as I was when I saw those early X-Men movies. Sometimes stuff like that just gets you thinking. Get you thinking about, stuff that you were going through at the time or friends you had or whatever, but especially the content, right? Like, what is the movie about? It's about, stepping up and people you care about. And I think they convey that well. I do think there's a couple times where it's a little, it's a little, I'll break it on down. Anyway, there's times where you think about people that you care about, that you want to make sure they're okay. And if you're not going to be around, you really want to make sure they're going to be okay, right? You think about family, or you think about friends, right? And that's what part of this movie's about. And so sometimes stuff like that, every now and then, it hits you and it gets you. There might be a word or a phrase that's used or something like that. A couple actors, this is what they do. They're actors, right? They convey emotion, they convey scenes. They're empty vessels, but if they're good, they're able to convey to you things that make you think, that make you feel. And there were times in this movie where that's exactly what happened. And that's a great thing, because it gives the movie a little bit of heart. Now ultimately, Deadpool's motivations didn't quite land for me, because I don't think it really set it up enough, but it was set up in the other movies. And so that's kind of one of those things you have to take with that, and you have to go, okay, well, it wasn't set up in this movie, but it was set up in other movies. And if you understand what I'm saying, then you get what I'm saying with that. Is that he has friends, he has a girlfriend, he has a lot of stuff like that. And so that's what it made me think of. I'm especially at that moment when some things were going down. And then you look at Wolverine's plight in the movie, and you look at kind of what happened to him, and not really spoiling anything, but for you, if y'all have watched this trailer, you do understand we're talking about timelines, we're talking about some multiverse stuff, and in some senses, they make fun of this stuff, but then the thing they make fun of is the very thing we're doing. And I think that's where it does, get a little interesting, because they have a lot of commentary on the MCU and the direction they've gone. They have a lot of commentary on 20th Century Fox. They have a lot of commentary on other characters and things they've done, some of the cameos and things they've done. Also breaking the fourth wall, which is what Deadpool does, breaks the fourth wall, talks about real actors and real people, real things going on. And so that happens too. But overall, man, like at the end of the day, I think it's totally worth going to see. It's worth spending your money. Do you need to see it in 3D or the RPX theater? Or, that's up to you. I mean, however important that it is for you, then that's totally up to you if that's what you want to do. But if I had to give it a numerical rating, I tell you what, I'm gonna ask somebody in here, Eric Thurman, a numerical rating for you. And yes, Todd C, midlife crisis trope, kind of, yeah, kind of, in a way that ties that in with some other stuff. But who is actually send it in here. If you get a chance, just type it in. Tell me what you think. Is it a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10? Is it a 10 out of 10 in your book? I can't go that high. I can't go to a 9. I can't say this is Infinity War. I can't say that this is on the par of, like a Winter Soldier, right? Or Civil War, I can't go there. I would say 8 out of 10 is probably as high as I could go with this, because I think there are some rudimentary issues a little bit with it from a narrative standpoint. We do get to see his roommate in the movie, which I think she's been in the trailers. That's no spoiler. But she is such a funny character. Like, just her character alone. And she has some great lines in this movie again, as she does in every one of the Deadpool movies. So, 8 out of 10 is kind of where I land in here. And yes, Bolivian marching powder. They have a million more. I mean, they rattle them off one after another. It is I mean, my son, kind of somewhat knowing, just because he watches a lot of YouTube, and he he hears all kind of stuff. He sees all kinds of stories. He likes the documentary style, right? Uh, yeah, I say booger sugar all the time at work. It's something that I say quite a bit. I say quite a bit, but in certain circumstances, I joke around with other people about it. But yeah, no, I'd say an 8 out of 10. Couldn't go higher than that. But it is really fun. It is really funny. You will laugh throughout the entire movie, even when things slow down and you catch your breath. There's still some really funny stuff. There is an adorable, absolutely adorable animal that I don't think we've seen in the trailers, at least not to my knowledge. But For animal lovers out there, you're gonna. I know it's recurrent, but what this movie does not do is it does not set up anything moving forward in the MCU. It has no, uh, I mean, nothing, nothing at all. And yeah, the animal in it, Eric, is adorbs. War Chest says he's going to give it a 7. Um, and okay, so Matthew Matson, and what's up, buddy? He says, yeah, the animal has been in some trailers. I wasn't sure, I didn't know. Obviously, we get hints of other Deadpool and whatnot, but the you know, I didn't know for sure if the animal had been in any trailers. I've watched a couple of them, not crazy, crazy, crazy heavy. Eric Thurman, I did stay until the end credits. We actually stayed to the very, very, very end of the very end. And that was another hilarious scene that you're led to believe wasn't the case until you actually catch that end scene. And then it makes even more sense than it did. And to see that person in that role again was just awesome. I mean, there are people that come out of the woodwork for this film, y'all. Like, there are, I mean, dude, there are people that come out of the woodwork for this film, and it's funny. Man, yeah, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to say too much about a lot of stuff. I want y'all to see it and then tell me what you think. But it was a blast. It's not gonna save the summer box office. Now, is this movie gonna, make a billion? I projected it would. Most everyone else I've talked to projected it would not. I fully understand after seeing it why they feel like it wouldn't. Now, for those who are predicting under a billion and haven't seen it, information wise, you're either getting that from people that got an early screener and are kind of basing it off that. But for those who have seen it and you think that it's not going to make a billion, I can understand that sentiment right now. But it's really funny. Like, it's really funny. And it has some good action, and it has two characters, and especially, think of the history of these guys. That's my thing. Think of Ryan Reynolds, okay? And the fact that he played Deadpool already in Wolverine Origins and already fought Wolverine. He had always wanted to play this character forever. And so you think about their history together, right? And so for this moment to happen, there's a lot of people that are in on that boat. And I think as word of mouth gets around, I do think there are going to be repeat viewings. And it's up to those repeat viewings to determine whether this is going to pass a billion or not. I will say, though, I bought tickets on... I bought tickets during the live stream on Wednesday night, I think, with 3-Star Draw, if I'm not mistaken. And at that time, at 3 p.m. on a Friday, okay, this is the day after the opening day, I bought my tickets for a 3 p.m. showing on a Friday today. And there was one other ticket sold, and it was a big theater. So when we got there today, and we walked in, I actually took pictures of the theater and just wanted to, just gauge, how many people were there. And I'm going to tell you that there were 3 girls to the right of us. There was one person in the row in front of us to the left. There were 4 younger boys a few rows down. and I think there was about 3 or 4 people a couple rows down from them, and that was about it. Um, so you think about a theater, and I mean, this is a large theater. It was the 2D theater, okay? So in that respect, it was a 2D theater, but um, not a lot of people there. And I'm gonna send some photos to myself and let y'all kind of check them out here. Um, let's see here, and you can get an idea what I'm talking about. I mean, I just thought it was crazy that this many people were not there. Shocked. So let's go ahead and send this, and I'll pull it up real quick on my email and show you what my theater looked like. We could have moved anywhere and everywhere if we wanted to. I mean, we could have gone wherever the heck we wanted to go. If you want to sit down front. Now I'll tell you, I don't know about you guys. I hate sitting down front. If I'm stuck down front, I'll leave and I'll come back. I'll come back for a new showing if I can. Let's see. Do 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 do. All right, come in here. Come in here. All right, let's get these photos real quick. So anyway, yeah, I think overall, I think the film is gonna have some legs. I think it's gonna do well. A billion, I don't know. I don't know if I can still hold to that. I would love to, but I don't know that I can. There we go. All right. So I'll give you guys an idea of what my theater looked like here. Come on, StreamYards. Don't mess with me now. You guys know I've been having issues with that. All right. That's a good little jam right there. $3 p.m. premium was packed. See, that's what I think. You know, Eric, that's what I think. I think that the 3 p.m. premium ones were actually probably the ones to go to. So this will give you an idea right here. I mean, that's one side of the theater right there. And then this is the other side. Let's see. I'll give you the other side of it. That's the other side. So I mean, if you look, like, there's nobody there. Now, this was obviously before the previews and everything started, but only a few people trickled in. And so yeah, like, I was shocked at 3 p.m. on a a Friday. Kids are still out of school, mind you. I know it's an R-rated movie, but I mean, let's face it, there were kids in there with no parents. There were kids that came in that just scanned their tickets. There were no parents around that say, hey, this is my little Timmy. It's okay if he watches this movie. Back in the day, I remember having to have a guardian come up, like my best friend, and his mom would come up there and say, hey, they're going to go see, whatever. And I just want to make sure that you guys know it's okay. And they'd let us in. But like, as far as now, you buying your tickets online and just rolling up and scanning it, like, there was no one checking IDs. It wasn't like anybody was like, all right, I'm not gonna let these kids in. No, everybody got in. The thing of it was, in ours, which was just the standard one, there was nobody. There was nobody there. It was an empty theater, and I was kind of shocked at 3 p.m. Now, I bet you right now, there's probably some people, but they had so many showings. But I agree with you, Eric. I think the 3 p.m. the premium, rather, whether it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Everybody's probably going to see this movie with the 270 degree theater, and all that kind of stuff. And those tickets are really only about $2-3 more. The really expensive one, it was $30 plus a ticket. And so that's the part that just kind of really I stayed away from. I may go see it in a couple more days, and I may just do it that way, and maybe understand it, or have a good time with the wind and the smells and the seat moving and all that stuff. It could be a lot of fun. And then War Chest says, be honest, I haven't seen it yet, but I felt pressured by Pop to give a rating. Sometimes he hits me. Oh man, it's that Deadpool violence. You're so goofy. Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, man. Look, if you hadn't seen it, go check it out. It's worth it. I think it's worth your movie, or worth your money rather. There's so few movies out right now that are worth your time. At the very least, give one movie that's worth your time, the time of day, and go see it. Get you a matinee if you can. See it the way I did. You don't have to do 3D and all that. And Eric, our tickets were right at $20 a piece. I think it was $40 almost even after tax is what I paid for my son and I to go see the movie. And I think like the upgraded 3D or RPX was maybe like 22 or 24 or something like that. But there were more people there, and the seats I wanted were sold. So I think you are right. I think people were really going in on that premium, and because it wasn't that much more. So in that respect, considering it wasn't that much more money, probably is worth it to do. So yeah, 8 out of 10. Deadpool, Wolverine, good time, good fighting, good acting, very irreverent humor, goofy stuff. You know what to expect. If you've seen a Deadpool movie, you know exactly what to expect. But Wolverine brought levity. He brought a straight man to the comedy, and he played it well. And it is a feel-good movie. Even with the tears, still a feel-good movie when it's all said and done. Glad I saw it. Glad I saw it in a theater. This is not a movie I think that people have to see in a theater. We know those type of epic movies like that. But it was more fun. I just, in a way, I'm kind of glad that it wasn't packed because people talking, using their phones and all that. So it was actually really a good experience for me because none of those things happened. And we had plenty of room beside us. And so now when you think about going to the theater, it's sometimes such a pain in the ass, especially because other people just don't know how to act. And you're in a dark theater, and there's nothing worse than somebody pulling up that this deal right here, and it's in a row in front of you, and you can't help but see the brightness from somebody's phone 3/4 of the movie. I can't stand that. Yeah, movies used to be $12. Hell, I mean, for me, and I know people older than me can go back even further, but for me, you could go to a $6 matinee. $5 matinee. Hell, $4.75. Those days are long gone, baby. And War Chest isn't sold out until Monday here. Tickets are 16 to 25% off before 4. And that's, see, I love going to movies by myself. I don't know about y'all, but like, I love going to a matinee by myself, a 2:00 showing, a 1:00 showing. There's nobody there. I could be the only person in the entire theater. I love that. I love that because I can solely concentrate and solely focus on the movie and not have to be concerned about anything else. And yes, when you're the only person in the theater, or that say there's 2 people and the other person is all down in front, and I sit in the back middle every time I go to the movies. If I can buy seats that are in the very back, last row, middle seat, that's me. And if I'm the only person in there, then yeah, I'll use my phone. I might send out a Facebook message or something. I might look something up. Because yeah, when you're the only person in the theater, who gives a shit? But I love that. I love going to movies at 1 in the afternoon. It's great. And yeah, War Chest, you guys do have the Alamo Draft House. And a drink at Alamo, just tea, is $8, and they add 18% tip, and the tickets are $22 after 4. Are you kidding me? Jeez Louise. I mean, look, I think Nashville's expensive, but that's tough, man. That's tough. Yeah, Eric, 475. Yeah, I'd love to have a time machine. A few things I'd like to go back and do over again. And not in a bad way either. But anyway, so yeah, check it out, man. It's fun. Fun movie. I do have a few other topics that I wanted to bring up to y'all. I did see where Dexter. Did you guys watch the show Dexter at all? Before I get into some of the heavy hitting topics, I just kind of want to bring up a couple other ones that I thought interesting today. They do have a new Dexter show coming out. Did any of y'all watch Dexter back when it was out? During the golden age of television, True Blood, Dexter, Breaking Bad, all that good stuff. Looks like Dexter is making a return again after the last Dexter show. It says, however, that Michael C. Hall is coming back. He's also going to narrate the inner voice, the dark passenger. And so they've continued to expand on it. I just don't know if I can. I love Dexter, and I watched that series from beginning to end, but I just don't know if there's anything else you can do with this character. I just don't know that there's anything else you can do. Now, I don't know if this is going to involve flashbacks or it's going to be mainly a show about him when he's a kid, and then he's going to narrate it, and then maybe you'll have some flash forwards or whatever. But yeah, in 2021 they had that Dexter New Blood. I have not seen that. It was, and I love Dexter. I actually really love it. I was disappointed with the last season, but I actually really did love that show. It did start to get a little old. The premise started to get a little bit old when you see the character somehow be able to weasel his way out of a situation or not get caught or whatever. And so it did start to get kind of old, and it's kind of the same old thing time after time. But the first 4 or 5 seasons of Dexter were just great. And I liked Michael C. Hall. Good actor. But I guess he is coming back, and this is let's see here. 2006 when Dexter premiered. I can't even believe it. It's been that long. 2006. Ran for 8 seasons. Dexter New Blood, a limited series set 10 years after the conclusion of the original, premiered in 2021. So this one is Dexter Original Sin. It's set to premiere in December of this year. And then Resurrection launches in summer of 2025. Holy crap. A lot of Dexter going on. Again, I just don't know what else you can really do with this show. It was good while it was on, but at this point now, I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing. Serial killer who hunts serial killers. He kills bad guys. Great premise. You can only do it for so long. But I saw that was kind of coming around. Showtime's probably really searching for some material at this point. HBO's killing it. Netflix, Amazon, whomever, everybody's killing it. Showtime needs to get in there and get some business done. And then let's see here. Yeah, 3 episodes. Yeah, it is worth your time, War Chest. If you get a chance, I do think it's worth your time. It is worth checking out. It is a fun show. It does have some good writing. It has some good scenes in it. Michael C. Hall is a good actor and does a wonderful job. If you ever saw 6 Feet Under, he was amazing on that show as well. That was an HBO show, and then he hopped over to Showtime for Dexter. But 6 Feet Under, fantastic. If you get a chance to watch that, highly recommend that too. Um, yeah, I don't know War Chest about letting J.J. Abrams take over anything as far as I'm concerned. Most of the stuff he's done is that wonderful mystery box storytelling with no payoff. Lewis Berry drops by. All right. How you doing? Says love the movie and Jackman crushed it. Cameos were great. Chemistry was good between Reynolds and Jackman, off the charts. Emma was great too. Yeah, I thought she was good. Hope to get Deadpool and Wolverine and Peter 3. Now that would be hilarious. Like that really would be. And I don't want to say a whole lot more than that regarding the movie, but yeah, man, holy crap. And I love it when he says, have fun with my Peter. When you see it, you'll know. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so it's a little article that I saw on the Ringer, especially regarding Deadpool and Wolverine. And so talking about the current box office and kind of what's been going on lately. This is the only sole superhero movie we got this summer. And if you think about it, going back now when we get to talk about the Acolyte, nope, nobody's talking about the Acolyte unless you really want me to. But man, oh man, that show is atrocious. But the summer blockbuster, and Hollywood, if you remember the strikes that happened, all these people that were striking, these writers, thought that they were going to come back to a Hollywood where they were going to get a great wage and free health insurance, and they were going to be writing on all these shows. And if you actually go and look through the metrics, there's less stuff coming out. Hollywood has tightened the belt. They are not producing as many shows. They're not contributing budgets to these shows. Now, conversely, The Acolyte, however, which was filmed not just recently, this is pre-strike, even up to a couple of years ago, they gave that show $180 million. And that should be a cautionary tale for anybody and any company that they do not need to give $180 million to someone who doesn't know what the hell they're doing to make a show with an IP that that said company hasn't been able to do anything with in years since they bought it. But basically, this article on the Ringer kind of goes through Fall Guy and Furiosa, which really did not make that much money. If you look back last year and you saw Oppenheimer and Barbie, those two movies were very successful. But really the two most successful movies of the year, and they really didn't get great reviews. Barbie and Oppenheimer, yes. But this year we've had Fall Guy and Furiosa. Now, Fall Guy, I've seen a part of it. Didn't really finish it, picked it back up, and then just never finished it. But the people I trust, people that I see, things I've read, people I've read, I trust their opinions. And so Fall Guy, Furiosa, two movies that, critics kind of like, audiences kind of like, but it really didn't make any money. Didn't make any money at all. And then when it comes to Furiosa, the thing of it is people want a Mad Max movie. They want Mad Max in a Mad Max movie. And while Furiosa was a decent enough character in the last Mad Max movie, Fury Road, people want Mad Max. That's just what they want. And so I think, Furiosa really was more of a letdown. Inside Out 2 was actually a pretty decent hit for them. It was pretty big. And Despicable Me 4, those are those ones that really animated movies generally do well, especially if they're just decent. If they're okay, animated movies will usually do well, and especially when you're talking about a sequel to like the Minions type stuff, right? Inside Out 2, anything you could put a 2 on it, then chances are it usually right now is going to do okay. Where original compositions, original movies are struggling right now. But that's why we see so many sequels, is that it's seems like an easy bankable thing to do if you're going to put money into a film, but it's also recognizable. And so right now with brand new IPs and brand new ideas are not doing as well, at least you can bank on something that made $1 billion, or made 800 million, even if that was 6 years ago, right? It's just easier for people to invest their money in something like that. But then you had Twisters, which, did a pretty good job, especially in the Midwest, in the middle America, right? That did a really great job in middle America. There's a lot of people who can't understand maybe why Twisters did maybe some of the money it did, but it's because there's a market of people who want to go see movies like that. If you remember, we had a rash of end of the world movies there for a while. Whether they dealt with asteroids, whether they dealt with snow, whether they were tsunamis, whether they were earthquakes, right? Whatever it was, that 2012 movie, which was it, John Cusack. There are times when we've had plenty of those kind of disaster movies, and Twister kind of falls into that category. And but overall, the box office is not strong. It's not strong at all, and it probably won't be for a while. And really, until we get through and go through all of this identity politics stuff that is not making money, there's no two ways about it. Not making money. Once those movies that have been in production for a year or two or longer or whatever, once we start to cycle out of those movies, then we may see a resurgence when it comes to people going to the movies and spending a lot of money, seeing something multiple times. Frostbite is in the house. How you doing, buddy? Good day to you. Frostbite's G.I. Joe Repro. Good to see you. And this must be afternoon for you, middle day, midday, somewhere in there. And Lewis Berry says, I wouldn't mind having a Fury Road too. I mean, I thought Fury Road was fun. It was a fun movie, but it had Mad Max in it. That helps. Oh, all right. Frostbite said, watch Twisters and Take Me to the Moon last week. And what he said, they were great. Okay. Well, I imagine Twisters, just a fun movie. It was getting criticized that it wasn't playing the politic game, that it was just trying to be what it is. And it was getting criticized by the media for that. Which in this day and age, I guess if you're just normal and regular and like normal and regular stuff, I guess that's a problem these days. But nonetheless, Deadpool Wolverine, for some people, they're feeling like it's going to save the box office, like it's supposed to just really pump it up. And even if it makes $1 billion, I just don't know how that. I don't know how that would really save the box office. I think it's really it's going to take a couple years, man. Like I'm telling you, these movies that have been in production have to be cycled out. And if I remember correctly, and actually right here, you see that Craven the Hunter, like, that's coming out. We got Venom coming out again for the third movie. That's coming later this year. I mean, the Venom movie, for those of you who've seen the trailer, it looks like a Venom movie. I just don't know what else you can do with that character. If there's no Spider-Man for a Venom movie, then it just can only go so far. That's what's so goofy about it. And somehow they're just not able to make that work. Sony somehow is trying to create a Spider-Man extended universe without Spider-Man. If Spider-Man is not fighting Venom or Craven or Sandman or whoever the hell, whatever it is, it doesn't work. Nobody wants to see it. But right here in this article, it says, where does Deadpool and Wolverine fit into all this? We know it'll make bank thanks in part to two stars who have long been synonymous with their respective characters. But the movie itself feels less of a rallying cry for the superhero genre than a death rattle. Death rattle's awful. Plenty of cameos, edgy humor. Yes, there are a lot of fucks. Wolverine in the yellow costume, yes. What people wanted for a long time now. 2 decades, 4 or 5 decades, whatever. So yeah, it's gonna bring in dollars, but it's really not leading to anything else, like I was saying earlier. So if it's not really leading to anything else, then are people going to be okay with it being kind of a one-off? Will they feel like it's important that they need to go see it? Or will they want to see it because it has no attachment to anything else? It has no attachment to the MCU. It has no attachment to anything else. It's not bound to have to follow the rules, so to speak. Because I think if Deadpool Wolverine had to bend to follow the MCU rules for Marvel, then it would have been a worse off film for it. The ability to basically make it what it is, I think, is what's enticing about it. But if it had to follow this formula that Marvel has kind of laid out, especially since Endgame, then it would be a lesser film and probably be a different film for those that have seen it. Yeah. And actually, I will tell you this too. In the Deadpool Wolverine movie, it is quite clear that there is a villain who probably would have been at the central point of this movie, and that villain is gone. If you guys are expecting to see Kang in any shape, form, or fashion moving forward, you're not gonna get it. That dude he's out. He is absolutely gone. And Warchest's not a fan of villain or Venom, rather. My bad. Yeah, no. It's okay. Those movies are okay. There's only so much Tom Hardy I can handle, especially one that talks like he's got a mouthful of marbles. Like, at that point, I'd rather him just have a mask on like he does in Fury Road and just shut the fuck up. Quite simply. Deadpool Wolverine is engineered to appeal to a certain crowd, but it's not bringing anything new to the table. Rather, it's a film that believes simply bundling familiar IP matters more than doing anything novel with it. Does Hollywood recognize this? Do they care? I think right now the only thing they care about is trying to make some money. And at this point, they're willing to do whatever they can to bring in money. Um, I think they had what, $4 billion films last year. But when you look at the overall compared to the last decade or since Marvel movies started coming out, um, that's underperforming at the box office big time for you know movie companies, to have so few $1 billion films, um, when they had been having them over and over and over and over again for a decade, right? To not be able to have those, it it pays for all your shit films. So all your movies that don't make money, you get $1 billion film come in. Not only does it cover the budget for one film, it covers the budget for 2, 3 large films, plus all the small films that are released that don't make money. It at least covers that cost. And right now, that's not really happening. Um, and we may very well see some companies. I know we're going to see some theater chains close, like Regal Cinemas in Britain. Regal Cinemas is actually closing many of their theaters. Probably will close several here in the States. But in particular, over in Great Britain, they're going to be closing several theaters. They're not doing well. People are just not going. And then, of course, the prices are so huge. And then popcorn and a soda are ridiculously overpriced for what you get. And so yeah, we get a little bit of Steven Spielberg here talking about creating crowd pleasing blockbusters, saying that superhero movies would go the way of the Western, and that does make a lot of sense because everything kind of has a time frame, everything kind of has its cycle, and so if you think about Westerns, right? If you think about certain type of action movies, or if you think about certain types of films, musicals, whatever it is, they may be popular for a period of time and do really well. And then eventually, though, people get tired of them. And the superhero movie, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, eventually was going to get tiresome for people. And it has. And the numbers show it. But yes, like Westerns, yeah, I believe superhero movies would go the way of the Western. That's what Steven Spielberg said in 2015. And they do have cycles. They have a finite time in pop culture, and it's very true. It doesn't mean they can't come back around, but you have to have some time in between that. It's just like Star Wars. When George Lucas did the prequel trilogy, and then in 2005 when Revenge of the Sith came out, and then it lay dormant for a whole decade, which he sold it in that time, but it lay dormant for all that time as a movie making property. And then Disney got a hold of it, fired it back up in 2015, and off we went from there. And then now, instead of letting that lie, giving people time to really miss something, and just like with Marvel, they did the same thing. They've continued to pump out one thing after another, TV show after TV show, right? But overall, it's like, yeah, you need to give these things time to breathe. And Disney really has not given this stuff time to breathe. And I guess that shows they want to make all of the money, right? And then Frostbite says, here in Australia, it's hard to go to the movies because it's about $25 per ticket. And then they charge about $20 for a large popcorn and a drink. I mean, that's, roughly, that's basically what I paid. I paid $26 for a large Coca-Cola and a medium popcorn today. $26. And then the tickets alone were $40 for 2 people. So for my son and I to go see this movie today at 3 p.m, mind you, $66 for 2 people. That's expensive as shit, man. A family of 4, yeah, you might as well just sit down at home and stream it. Buy you some Orville Redenbacher microwave popcorn, you know. And yes, war chest westerns did cost a lot of money to make because you had horses and you had, shooting on location, right? You had to build your little town. You're out in the middle of nowhere, or you're shooting on a Hollywood lot, of course. But yeah, you had extras. I mean, it just depends on what kind of film you're making. But westerns were definitely expensive for their time. But yeah, man, I'm with you, Frostbite, on the cost because it's hard, and I think also too, like this article says, is that while Deadpool and Wolverine shaping up to be a record-breaking hit, there's different variables for its success that can't be just transferred onto other tentpole movies. This movie is more like a temporary salve for industry's box office malaise, not a cure-all. Superhero fatigue is real, and I do believe it is real. I think people are just kind of done with it, but I don't think they're done with it just because they're done with it because it's superheroes. Yes, I think that's part of it. However, I do believe we've had some really bad movies in the superhero genre, right? Like we've just had some bad movies. And when you get a string of bad movies, that means people really don't want to go after that. You've been burned, right? You get burned once or twice, you're apprehensive about getting burned again. I get that. I really do. And that's why, and I even made this comment to my son today while we were walking out of the movie. And I said, do you remember when we were going to see every Marvel movie that came out at a specific movie theater where I lived at the time? We went and saw them all, whether it was an Ant-Man, whether it was Civil War, whether it was Iron Man 3, or whether it was Guardians of the Galaxy, or whether it was Infinity War, Endgame, whatever. We saw all of them. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, we were loyal, man, all in. And then I made the comment, since Endgame, I don't think we've been back to see a single. We didn't even see Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Or 3, or whatever hell one it came out. I don't even know anymore. I didn't pay attention. I didn't care. And he doesn't either. War Chest, my favorite actor, man, that's tough, man. Golly. My favorite actor. I don't know. I guess I'd really have to kind of take a little time on that. I don't know if I can. Okay, so good. See, just goes to show you, Guardians 2 or 3. I saw 2 actually. I remember 2 because had Kurt Russell. It's 3 that I missed. 3 is the one I missed, and I thought 2 was much lesser of a film than 1, and a lot of other people did too. My favorite actor. Woo. I may have to get back to you on that, buddy. I may have to get back to you on that. I'm not sure. Anybody else out there in the chat, put your favorite actor down. And speaking of, if you like what you hear, whether that's all live or Memorex, that's what we used to say back in the day. Is it live or is it Memorex? That means the replay. Hit the like button. If you can, if you feel like it. If you don't feel like it, I understand that too. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. But yeah, it's always appreciated for sure. Yeah, favorite actor. I really will. Now, look, I love some Gene Hackman. I can't argue with that. I'm not gonna go where some people might go, like where they're the usual suspects, so to speak, like a Pacino or De Niro or Newman or whatever. I'm not going there. And for a lot of those guys, their best stuff, I wasn't even really old enough to really see their best stuff. But I don't know. I may just have to get back to you on that. Um, Ernie Hudson. Okay. Matthew Matson says Ernie Hudson. Um, thing about Ernie is he just didn't get a fair shake, like not with a lot of stuff. He probably could have been an even really bigger star than he was. But unfortunately, I think for the most part, Ghostbusters somewhat boxed him in because of it being such a cult, huge thing soon after it was released. And then, after that, kind of what do you do? It reminds me of like Carl Weathers, although two completely different actors, but it's like Carl Weathers, Rocky. And then after that, what do you do with Carl Weathers? Action Jackson. I mean, those movies weren't exactly, hits. Denzel Washington, that's a good actor as well. Yeah, I don't know. I will get back to you on that, man. I'll think about it here in the meantime, or try to rummage through this brain of mine and pull a couple out. Morgan Freeman was very good as well. Um, I think Morgan Freeman, taking roles that maybe didn't deserve his talent. Sometimes for an actor, it's also about collecting a paycheck. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. Now, Morgan Freeman was doing a lot of narration. He had his hand in all kinds of narrative stuff, right? For television and you name it, special projects, documentaries. I mean, hell, Morgan Freeman all over the freaking place. And so yeah, man, like that. But he's very good actor. Very, very good actor. Bottom line is that I do not believe that this movie, Deadpool Wolverine is going to save the box office. Just judging by the trailers that I saw, got a long road to hoe. And that Borderlands movie that's coming out in August, okay, I think it's early August, second week of August, maybe the 9th or somewhere in there. That movie looks like complete and utter trash garbage. Totally miscast. If you're a Borderlands fan, if you love the games and you're a Borderlands fan, and you've always wanted to see this movie or this video game come to life, you are going to be sorely disappointed. Absolutely sorely disappointed with the garbage that they're about to give you in August with Borderlands. Let's see. Matthew Matson says, I always say Ernie because I've met him a few times. Nice, genuine person, and I just love. I love just about all the films he's been in. I mean, sometimes it's like that too, right? I mean, you just like somebody just because you like them. You like what they've done. You like the way they are. If you have met them, sometimes extenuating circumstances, or you root for that person, right? Like you root for that actor. There's some. I think Keanu Reeves is a person that a lot of people root for, right? Like they love they love watching what he's in. My sister just texted me and said Kiefer Sutherland is her, which I know that from her is her favorite. Kiefer Sutherland, yeah, I mean that's somebody else that's been in a lot of stuff. He's been in some very prominent movies and some great roles. And then also done some other things that were, not quite as successful. But if you're a career actor like that, you're gonna do some stuff. But yeah, Kiefer Sutherland, that he's had some great movies, so that's somebody you could definitely throw out there. Obviously, some people would say Tom Hanks. And people like Tom Hanks fascinate me actually. Actors that started out as true just comedians, like goofballs, that somehow through the years were able to take their talent and craft it and learn and keep at it and then become like a great serious actor. Someone that goes on to win. Matthew McConaughey. I don't know how you feel about him. I think for a lot of people, he seems to be kind of the same character in a way. A lot of times, but some of the stuff he's done has been really, really good. But yeah, Tom Hanks is a good one. Obviously, Harrison Ford's been in a million things. It's a little hard for me to watch Harrison Ford now because of just the way he is and the person he is. Just seems like he could care less. He really could care less, but if you're going to pay him, he's going to give you, he's going to give you what you want. But like ultimately, he could care less about the movie. He doesn't care about promoting it. He doesn't want to learn about it. Doesn't give a shit. Um, but he's been in some amazing movies. Some people out there might say Will Smith. They love some Will Smith. Will Smith. And yes, all right. Little Matthew McConaughey. RL says, open the panel, please. Open it up. Talking about in regards to everybody tossing in. Tossing in and getting an invite. It'd be a little hard to do at this point now. Going on a couple hours in. I may plan that for next week, actually. Depending on what everybody's doing on a Friday night. May very well plan that for next week. We'll see how that goes. I'll put the word out, see what we can do. In regards to Deadpool and Wolverine. Open the panel. As in not spoilers, right? Clarify for me a little bit more, RL. Just so I know we're on the same page. So I know exactly where you're going with that. Just because I am a little dumb at times, and so I just want to make sure I have my ducks in a row, and I fully understand exactly where you are at with that. Let's see here. Let me go. Okay, so here's the deal. Non-spoilers, because I have people that have not seen it. And I definitely went over the first probably half of the stream. Definitely just kind of going over the movie and giving my thoughts without spoilers. I would love to go right into the movie. I absolutely would love to, but I know I've got people here that have not seen it, and I want them to go see it. I really do, and I know that we're going. So RL, just so you know, Tuesday night, I do a stream, the big show with Matthew Matson at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will be going over this movie. We're going to talk about it and give our opinions on it, and it will be a spoiler-filled discussion Tuesday night, hands down. So if you don't have anything going on Tuesday night, this upcoming Tuesday in just a few days at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will have a live stream on this same channel with Matthew Matson, and we are going to go over it spoilers because he's actually going to go see it tomorrow, if I believe. Yes, it is. Tuesday it is. So yeah, RL, if you want to tune into a spoiler one, man, because I'm going to go all out Tuesday for sure. I have a lot of opinions about this movie, and I would love to share them in a spoiler format for sure, but I want to give everybody time to see it since it just came out. But yeah, no, tune in for that if you want to, because my guest, well, I say my guest, it's his show too, but Matthew Matson, he will have some great opinions about it as well. I know he'll be fired up and ready to talk about it also. And so yeah, I can't wait for that. 3-star draw. Are you serious? Like, are you really wanting to talk about the Acolyte? Because I just don't know what more there is to talk about. And yeah, War Chest ready for a new Wolverine. I agree with you. I think it's time. I think Marvel, one of their biggest mistakes they made was killing off Tony Stark and Captain America, because that is, they should have recast those roles instead of killed those roles, because when you kill those roles off, then you start playing with the stupid multiverse crap, and then you have to figure out ways to right yourself out of a hole that you put yourself in. And Jon Favreau was very against them killing off Tony Stark. He did not want them, the Russo brothers, to kill off Tony Stark. And it was a mistake, very big mistake. Because yes, you could recast the character and people will accept it. As if you recast the character, they'll accept it if it's good. They will. They've done it throughout history. But when you kill that character and no one else can play that character, then you find yourself in a situation that you're in now, which means you have to reach deep in your bag of tricks to pull out people that people don't know as well, that only hardcore comic fans will know. You know, and Eric, do you remember when it was supposed to be what's her name? What's the girl's name that's supposed to be smarter than Tony Stark? Ironheart. Do you remember it's supposed to be Ironheart? And how they spent all this money on Ironheart, even though nobody cares about that character. They propped her up and she was supposed to be the next. She's smarter than Tony Stark somehow. Yeah, they were all in on Ironheart, and we haven't heard a thing about that at all. And yes, as a matter of fact, I will say donkey fart 3 times. Donkey fart, donkey fart, donkey fart. That's what they did in the comics too. The whole multiverse ways to fix all the junk stories and timeline issues. Yes. And the comics started to lose their steam. When you just start using multiverse and different 6-1 whatevers and 2-1-2 and the 3-1-3 universe and all that crap. When you start going that route, man, you lose the plot. When you lose the plot, people lose, and they don't care. They really don't care. Once you go that route, they do not care. Oh man, if I could summon Woody Triple Deuce, I would. Have a few questions about him, about how his YouTube channel's blown up. Woody Triple Deuce, the Figure Addict, ripping it up on YouTube, y'all. For real. Good stuff, man. So I want to get y'all's opinion on something else that is going around the video game world. Now, you may very well not be a video game fan, and I fully understand that. However, Ubisoft has a new Assassin's Creed game coming out. Assassin's Creed Shadows. And you're good, Josh. Tom Cruise. Joshua Payne loves some Tom Cruise. Tom is an awesome actor. Still going at it. Holy crap, man, that dude's still going at it. So this Ubisoft story with this video game, this Assassin's Creed Shadows game, so people for years have wanted an Assassin's Creed game in Japan, set in Japan. You know, we've had them in Rome, we've had them in Egypt, we've had them in the United States, you know, we've had them all over the freaking place. And a lot of times they've had historically accurate people in their games. They've even really tried to stay historical with their characters, but at the same time now they're trying to say that maybe they're trying to put a spin or trying to interpret or do something different. Well, what's happened has caused a big uproar in Japan. So much so that Japanese gamers and to a very large extent are really wanting them to cancel this game. They do not want this game coming out. And so to me, it's fascinating. So basically here's the gist of it, just so you guys know. And yes, the last Black Panther movie was absolutely horrid. Uh, it shouldn't even been called Black Panther for one. So, um, this Assassin's Creed game set in Japan for years. Many, many, many people have wanted this. Well, they're going to give you two characters to play with. The main character in the game is a guy named Yasuke. Now, historically, Yasuke is a person who did live, person that existed. However, his existence is really, there's not much to it. He was basically a servant for a prominent Japanese lord. He was a slave, but his lord freed him, and moving forward, when his lord passed away, he wanted Yasuke to be a free man. Now, there's not much else in history, in Japanese history, about Yasuke. There's really not much more about him. However, the Japanese are none too happy about this game, and I'll get to it. At the heart of the minor controversy around Assassin's Creed Shadows are its playable characters. Yasuke, a black samurai in feudal Japan. So let's go there. A black samurai in feudal Japan, and Naoi, a Japanese shinobi, female Japanese shinobi ninja. Yasuke's position as a samurai has been a source of some debate, and given an apparent lack of historical documentation on the man, a servant of Oda Nobunaga, some have taken issue with Ubisoft's game naming him a samurai. Japanese historian Yu Hirayama argues that Yasuke was indeed granted samurai status. It says his stipend, housing, and sword afforded him by Nobunaga, but acknowledges that Nobunaga's enemies did not view Yasuke as a samurai. Now, it's important to note that the Japanese, they do a lot of crazy stuff with their entertainment. They have they're big on mixing robots, right? And giant creatures. Jesus, I was just talking about this with my son. Another word escapes me. I know Matthew will definitely be able to give me the word I'm looking for. Anyway, so they will criss and cross all kinds of different genres and things together. But when it comes to history, very serious about what they do. And Matthew actually kind of throws a little bit of, context to free man. He was a retainer, never able to leave Japan, and never a samurai. And yes, Eric, Japanese are not going to let that fly. And so the thing of it is that, the developers for Ubisoft, and I have their apology, and I'll show it in a moment. Okay. But ultimately, one of the main players, this is a game that people have been waiting on for a long time. And one of the main players in the game that they give you, who is a samurai, is a black man in feudal Japan. And then they basically kind of fake his history, and they fake his importance. Now, understanding that this game was worked with partners okay, video game consultants that force diversity in gaming, especially when it doesn't make sense. For a lot of people, and they have no problem whether it's creating a character in an RPG, whether it is you know, playing as different characters that are black or uh, white, or it doesn't matter, Asian, Indian, who cares? Like, people will play as those characters. But especially when you're doing historical games and you're trying to be authentic, then things stick out like a sore thumb. And especially in today's world, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And while over here in America, we may very well say, well, who cares? For some people, they don't care. That's fine. For some people, they do care. It's like just a few years ago when you had a World War II game come out that had these infiltrators. That it was a female soldier that had a mechanical arm and was, it's supposed to be in World War II. And it had like a French, infiltrator, spy soldier when there were none, especially one that had like a prosthetic arm. And like there were just different things that just didn't sit right with people, because they knew, okay, you're trying to be historically accurate, but then you're doing this. So this doesn't make any sense. So while in America, a lot of times this stuff, okay, well, you're a horrible person if you don't like the game, or if you think this is dumb, then you're an istophobe or whatever. But in Japan, the shit don't fly. And they don't care, because they don't play all these stupid games. Now, identity politics has picked up steam in places like Japan recently, but ultimately at the end of the day, they don't care. And so there are YouTubers, there are people that put out videos asking Ubisoft to cancel this game. And then Ubisoft kind of went through a round of apologies, so to speak. So I'm going to bring up their apology real quick, and I want to show you what they kind of had to say about it. And you tell me whether or not this is an apology, if this counts as an apology. Okay. To our esteemed Japanese community, a message from the Assassin's Creed Shadows development team. First of all, we want to express our heartfelt thanks for all your support for the Assassin's Creed series, which now has its own history spanning almost 20 years. Over this time, we've explored various settings, time periods, and characters, from an assassin during the Third Crusade to a Viking in 9th century England, and countless more. For many of our team, creating Assassin's Creed games set in feudal Japan has been a long cherished dream. Since the announcement, they've received many positive reactions, and that's not very true, actually. Most of them have been negative reactions, but also some criticism, including from you, our Japanese players. We share your passion for history and deeply respect your care for the historical and cultural integrity of your rich heritage. So now they want to go over a few points. Okay, they want to go over a few points for their creative decisions. Okay, overall authenticity efforts. Says they put significant effort into ensuring an immersive and respectful representation of feudal Japan. Well, okay, so we have one problem. Our intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Shadows, as factual representations of history or historical characters. But see, that's not true, because if you play their other games, there are historical characters. There are people you talk to in the games that are actual historical characters. So first off, that's bullshit. Instead, we aim to spark curiosity and encourage players to explore and learn more about their historical settings we get inspired by. Spark curiosity or spark outrage. First and foremost, designed to be an entertaining video game that tells a compelling historical fiction set in feudal Japan. So just a second ago, Our intention has never been to present any of our games as factual representations of history or historical characters. But then they turn around and say that they want to tell a compelling historical fiction set in feudal Japan. Says they worked with all kinds of creatives and consultants and historians and researchers, or did they work with Sweet Baby Inc.? Because if they worked with actual historical researchers and consultants and all that, no, the consultants they worked with were people who came in and they said, okay, number one, you have two playable characters. One of them needs to be a female. She needs to be ugly, and she needs to be from Japan. So that covers us there, right? Chances are in the game she's also going to be, she's going to be gay, and then the other character, because you have a female Japanese character, well, the other character, we found this person of color that we think would be a great way to serve underrepresented people in your video game, underserved communities. Because, every starving black kid in the ghetto is looking at Assassin's Creed Shadows and going, man, I'm so glad they had this dude portraying a samurai for me to look up to. That's exactly what I need right now. I don't need money or food. I need representation in a feudal Japan set video game. Despite these sustained efforts, we acknowledge that some elements in our promotional materials may have caused concern within the Japanese community. For this, we sincerely apologize. Now, mind you, it doesn't mean they're going to change anything. All game footage presented so far is in development, and the game will keep evolving until launch. It's only 4 months away from launching. Like, what can you do? It's done. It's a finished product. There's no evolution unless they delay the game for a year at least. Based on constructive criticism we have received, we will continue our efforts until we put this game into your hands and beyond. We also want to clarify that while we have been consulting with many people throughout the development process, they are in no way responsible for the decisions that are taken by the creative teams in the interest of gameplay and entertainment. We respectfully request that any criticism not be directed at our collaborators, both internal and external, i.e. Sweet Baby Inc., and any one of these race hustling consulting firms that charge upwards of $7 million to go to a video game studio and tell them your script, it's not correct. Your characters aren't correct. The women in your game are too ugly. They need a squarer jaw and a thicker chin, and they need to be fat. That's what these consulting firms do. But they don't want you going after them. So this is Ubisoft falling on the sword. Falling on the sword. I'm shocked. It says they strive for authenticity. The games are work of fiction inspired by real historical events. The inception of the series has taken creative license and incorporated fantasy elements to craft engaging and immersive experiences. Yet you can buy DLC in their games also that give you a history tour of real world events and real world people. You can actually take historical tours on a DLC in the game. While Yasuge is depicted as a samurai in Assassin's Creed Shadows, we acknowledge that this is a matter of debate and discussion. Well, it's not really. I mean, we have woven this carefully into our narrative, and with our other lead character, the Japanese shinobi Nayo or whatever, who is equally important in the game, our dual protagonists provide players with different gameplay styles. Well, it's not about the gameplay style. So Japanese people are not upset about the gameplay style. That's not what they're talking about. So we get like the corporate gobbledygook, right? The fake apology, right? Yes, war chess. Yes, they're saying that this game has the historical actually as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. Right. Um, they greatly value the feedback, and while we understand that meeting everyone's expectations is very difficult, we sincerely hope that when Assassin's Creed Shadows launches on November 15th, players in Japan and around the world will give us their money. Oh, I mean, appreciate the dedication, effort, and passion they poured into it. The Assassin's Creed Shadows development team. So, we get our bog standard apology, which basically is not admitting any guilt, right? Then they tell you don't go after the consulting firms who have been busted recently with other games, including the games they've worked on that have been absolute failures for shoehorning in identity politics and garbage like that. Check the new Suicide Squad game that has the they them Mr. Free, I mean Mrs. Free, I mean Freeze in it with the classic short haircut, shaved side head bullshit. Oh, it's just a different take. Or androgynous Joker, for that matter. um, but the thing of it is, and the reason I want to talk about it, and yes, to an extent, Eric, about dishonoring history, is that don't go chasing waterfalls. Is that like, again, in this country, a lot of this stuff, we've almost gotten used to it, right? To the point where we just don't even, people fight about it, but the games come out. And what we do over here is we let the game come out and we let it flop on its own merits because we know most people don't want this crap, right? My thing is this, man. There's so many ways to do these characters and to represent them that there's no need to shoehorn them into eras or places or periods that they don't belong. It's about being more creative than just shoving this in somewhere and thinking that you're doing humanity a great respect by, I'm giving underserved communities the opportunity to spend $70 to $120 and microtransactions on our video game so they can feel represented because their self-worth is solely derived from seeing a character in a fucking movie or video game that looks like they do. The shit is so ass backwards and dumb. And it really comes from social media culture now, where everybody feels like they're the center of the universe and they have to let everybody know it. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I don't understand me being on a microphone talking right now, streaming on YouTube is not me somewhere in that sea of people. Okay. But I don't derive my importance from doing this. But yet so many people now derive their self-importance. It used to be keeping up with the Joneses, right? If you bought a house, you see your neighbor get a new car, you got to get a new car. They got brand new grass seed out and they spent thousands of dollars on it. You got to go out and get that same grass seed because you got to have that really green lawn that you can lay down in. At least you watch the commercials and watch people lay down in it, but you don't do shit with it because you never go outside your house. But you got a perfect lawn. It used to be that. And now it's like, all my beliefs and everything I believe is the center of the universe and nothing else matters. But, people in Japan, it's a different culture. And there is like a lot of honor. There's honor there. There's a lot of people keeping their word. There's a lot of, like, we always leave ourselves a back door. We leave an escape plan, right? You make plans. You don't have to respond to a text, right? You can come up with an explanation. You can come up with an excuse. I'm not saying that doesn't happen in Japan, but I'd say that their culture is a lot different than ours. I mean, it just is. and honor is being one of the biggest things, and truthfulness is a big thing. And I'm sure they look at this and they're like, what is this bullshit? Like, seriously. And so I can understand them being upset about it. And this game is going to come out. It will sell with your Ubisoft stands. They're going to buy it. They're going to, oh my God, so awesome. It will. How well, I don't know. I don't know how well these games do in the Japanese market, but it's a shame that this isn't a market that they could have tapped into, and it would have been so easy to do it. It would have been so easy to have a male and female protagonist from the area, and problem solved. Could you have Yasuke in a as a character in the game? Yes, of course you could. Could you have quests revolving this person? Could you have, it could be a main part of the main quest, right? Maybe you need to defend him. Maybe you need to help him defend his home after his lord passed. Whatever it is, right? Like, but to make him the main character and then just make your own take on his history and try to make it what it's not, that's where people start having the problem, and then to present yourself as doing like, accurate historical stuff, but then turning around and saying, well, no, our games really, they're just historical fiction. It's just another sign. It's like the same old thing. Like, and now it's invaded video games. Like, you can't get away from it. It's in movies. It's in games. Like, we can't get away from real world politics, no matter how hard you try. Thank God this movie today just didn't care about all that shit. Seriously. I mean, there's even a joke about an intimacy coordinator in the movie, which is one of the dumbest positions in Hollywood. Like having a COVID coordinator in Hollywood now. It's just it's so out of hand at this point. And thankfully, at least a whole country is standing up. Basically, at least a whole country of gamers are standing up and saying, we're done with this shit. Like, we're totally over it. And hopefully maybe in America one day we will be able to say the same thing. We're over this stuff. Like, no more. We are voting with our wallets. We're not going to see these movies because they suck, unless you stop this shit. I mean, how much money do these companies need to lose? Yeah, right. I need that job. I'm overqualified. 3-star draw. But seriously, like, how much money do these companies need to lose before they figure it out? And yes, he does rip on it the whole movie. See, this is where people have their conspiracy theories, and they have their theories about what's really going on, because you see companies losing hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. Hollywood losing billions of dollars. And games coming out that cost $200 million, $340 million to make over 5-6 years and coming out and just right down the toilet. And it's like, when will companies stop trying to push this shit? Nobody wants it. I think the shareholders, Eric, I think the shareholders are stupid. And I don't think they really pay attention. I think they get their emails, they get their little updates, they see their little conferences, or they have their little conference calls, and they're painted a picture. And a lot of these people are just ignorant. Like, they're just ignorant. And you could show them the data to their face every day, and they still wouldn't get it. They still wouldn't understand it. It's like they pretend it doesn't exist. Meanwhile, you got consulting companies making millions of dollars to go to writers and tell them, you can't tell that joke. That might offend somebody. You can't this female character is too pretty. That's gonna make women who are not this pretty feel bad about themselves. It's gonna make somebody that's fat feel bad about being fat. I mean, so? Like, so what? Like, it's life. Good God. But, yeah, like, this is just another case of it, and we'll see. We'll see how the game does. I don't know. We'll see how the game does. I am, definitely curious. Um, I wonder how it's gonna go down. We'll see. I'm sure it'll make some money. I do wanna get to this last story before I hop off here because I have to get up early tomorrow. I have a funeral to go to tomorrow. But I did wanna get over this final story here for you guys if you've seen this. Just always be aware of what your kids watch, okay? Be aware of what your kids watch, who your kids watch. Now, um, this dude on the right, this dude on the right used to be a dude or a regular dude in Mr. Beast videos. Part of his crew. Now, Mr. Beast, just to give you an idea, in the month of June had over 2 billion views, and he probably put out 4 videos on YouTube. He's like the biggest star in the world. He's the richest YouTuber ever. And this guy right over here, Ava Chris Tyson, was married, had 2 kids, had kids. And viewers of Mr. Beast's channel noticed that over time, his appearance started to change a little bit by bit. Started painting his fingernails and then wearing his hair different and then wearing like lip gloss and makeup and clothes and blouses and stuff. And Mr. Beast and them never really addressed it. They just kind of let it be. And as we see so often, it seems that Ava Chris Tyson trying to groom kids. And part of sharing and talking about kids. Not just talking about kids. Hey, War Chest, you do what you got to do, baby. Get to the boat dock. Go fishing. I'll talk to you later on, man. Have a good night. Hope you catch a bunch of fishes tomorrow morning. I'll holler at you tomorrow sometime before I go to work. And Eric Dermott says, I've never even seen Mr. Pringles. Yeah, so this just kind of recently came out, and a YouTuber by the name of Prism, with receipts for all of it, and I mean receipts for all of it, put out a video basically going down the list of all the chats and chat rooms and messages, comments, pictures, memes. So Ava Chris Tyson, a former associate of Mr. Beast, as in like the last day or two. And it says announced she would be. No, it's not she. No, Ava Chris Tyson is a guy, announced he would be leaving the channel and social media behind entirely. You don't do that unless you're in trouble. You don't do that unless you either defend yourself to the end. Why would you leave? Now, mind you, this dude's been living on Mr. Beast's dime for years. All right, part of the crew, and it says this decision came after he issued an apology for past remarks that led to allegations of grooming. Past remarks, mind you, okay, that led to past remarks. Okay. This is how this article is going to frame this, just so you know, okay? Begin with social media users. They don't even give credit. Uncovered alleged online conversation between a user named Lava, who was a minor at the time. Lava has since come out in defense. But there's much more. It says that Lava has since come out in defense of Tyson, though he still stepped down from Mr. Beast's channel. Well, why? Why would you do that? If somebody, if the person that supposedly this happened, then why would you still step down? It says below, we've broken down some of the allegations concerning Tyson's online behavior over the last 10 years. So, the accusations against Ava Chris Tyson are primarily focused on his interactions on social media throughout the years. Tyson, who transitioned in 2023. When you say transitioned, we don't mean the full Monty, by the way. We just mean wearing makeup. Just wearing makeup. All right. Like, it's not full. There's no full here. And then now they say, also has been the subject of significant anti-LGBT alphabet harassment. Recent allegations suggest that starting in 2016, when Tyson was 20, he engaged in inappropriate correspondence with someone who was 13 years old. Now, again, listen, this is how they're going to spin this. Inappropriate correspondence, who was then 13. Now they say, well, those interactions have led some to believe that 13-year-old was groomed by Tyson. What do you mean led someone? And also, too, so this guy also gets on social media, says, oh, I apologize, blah, blah, blah. But says, to lump these factors together to create a narrative that my behavior extended beyond bad, edgy jokes is disgusting and did not happen. So what bad, edgy jokes with a 13-year-old? In past years, I've learned that my old humor is not acceptable. I cannot change who I was, but I can continue to work on myself. Okay, let's be real. There's no my old humor. You have humor. It is going to be your humor for the rest of your life. It just is. It's like laughing at farts. You either do or you don't. Your humor is your humor. So basically the story is there are so many, and I mean so many messages basically of this person and chat rooms. I am going to actually give you guys the person who made the video, and that way, just so you can understand, like, as far as this video and what this person has gone through, just like piece of evidence after piece of evidence after piece of evidence. And you got someone who is on the most successful YouTuber's channel for years, talking to kids. This is a kid's channel, mind you. All right, this is a kid's channel. And if this guy is the subject of people that are just mad and they are alphabet community haters and all this stuff, then why would Mr. Beast come out and say, over the last few days, I've become aware of the serious allegations, and I have actually hired an independent third party to conduct a thorough investigation? Mind you, they're not bringing this dude back. And so what does that tell you? Mr. Beast says that I've seen enough online and taken immediate action to remove this person from the company, my channel, and any association with Mr. Beast. I do not condone or support any of the inappropriate actions and will allow independent investigators to take necessary time to conduct a comprehensive investigation. So you tell me, this is a person who has been trying to message kids, interact with kids, invite kids into chat rooms and other things like that to show them different pictures of other people that are of similar nature as he is. And these are kids who've been watching Mr. Beast's channel, and they are looking at this kid like they look up to these people. That kids watch more YouTube than anything else, and they look up to these people. This is where they get their entertainment. And you can see how kids are, how pliable, and the fact that they would be invited to something and find themselves in the middle of something that they don't really know what the heck they're doing. And anybody that says that conversations with a 13-year-old when they're 20 and continue on for years, that those are just bad jokes, bad humor, no. So this story really in the past couple of days, especially for people who kind of follow YouTube, I don't follow PewDiePie. I don't follow, a lot of these creators really, especially the ones that cater to children, because it's just not my thing. And yes, Eric Thurman, the cure for this is the wood chipper. And also there are some things that are coming out that are showing that it's possible Mr. Beast was knowledgeable for a long time of this stuff. Very knowledgeable. There are a couple videos that YouTubers that I want to share with you guys. Prism 42 did a very, very, very comprehensive study of all the material and everything. Now, it's a 43-minute video, but he goes through, and if you just want to look and see, he documents, he goes through screen grabs of all kinds of different comments, chat rooms, videos, photographs. I mean, there is so much evidence here, and they're all backed up by receipts. There's no way that you cannot look at all this information. And I watched about half of this video. Prism 42. It's an interesting video. It does give you an idea and gives you kind of an insight into the world that this, and it's not just that talked inappropriately to a 13-year-old. We're talking about one of the biggest, YouTubers on the planet. And we're talking about people that directly work with him. We have people that are editors and other positions, and other people now are coming out and also corroborating this evidence. So Prism 42, if you want to, check out a video that just gives you a little insight into this, I think this story is going to be even bigger. I think you're probably going to hear more and more about it as this goes down. And if in fact that Mr. Beast somewhat gets implicated in any of this stuff, you're really, 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 really going to see some you're really going to see some shit hit the fan. Like, this is like the golden child for YouTube. Another person is The Quartering, a guy named Jeremy from The Quartering. He did a great video on this about 9 hours ago, and he actually brings even more information to the table that he got from Discord leaks that go on to prove even more of what is going on. And this is stuff that, when I talk about companies like Disney and other companies, with the grooming kids and all that stuff. I mean, this stuff is happening. This stuff is going on with children. It's going on in classrooms. It's going on in all kinds of places, YouTube channels. It's going on places parents don't even think to look. And then you take a company like a Disney and you think, your child should be safe watching content there. And then, if you actually take the time to look, you'll find out they have certain agendas within people within their company that have agendas, and it is about bringing kids in and indoctrinating these children. The evidence and everything involved with it is too much to see now. It's beyond. Like, it's too much to see. And people can close their eyes and they can turn their head, they put their head in the sand, and they can say, "Oh no, you just just not everything is, you just think this is, okay, well, whatever, it's just not how the world works." Don't take my word for it. Do your own digging. Do your own information. Right? If you want to talk about something, then do some information. Look up some information, dig around on it, do your own investigations, and you'll come to those same conclusions because the information is there for you. It's presented. It is right in front of you through interviews, through documents, through hidden cameras at this point on Disney employees, through James O'Keefe. As well as plenty other companies, not just Disney, many other companies. This stuff has been going on. And now you've got famous YouTubers with people on their payroll. Now, I'm not saying that people always know what their employees are doing, and you have to know what your friends do behind closed doors and all that stuff. No, I'm not going to say that you're just guilty by association. I would never say that for just as a one-on-one or one-to-one. But some of the information coming out with people that have been closely tied to these people, some stuff is coming out that may very well implicate, one of the largest YouTuber on the planet. So we'll see. I just say, be careful. Make sure you know what your kids watch. If you have kids, make sure you know what they watch. Even the ones that seem like it is totally kid-friendly content, is that we're finding that they are doing stuff like this. It's happening at schools, making boys wear dresses at daycare. You name it, without parental consent. So keep your eyes open out there. That's a funky little jam. All right, you guys. It's 12 o'clock. I do have to be about 40 minutes away at 10 a.m. in the morning. So I've got to get up and get cleaned up and get a shower and all that jazz in the morning. So, look, I appreciate y'all hanging out for a while. Definitely wanted to give you my impressions on Deadpool Wolverine. A few stories going on, but not a whole lot right now tonight. But I think by Tuesday, we'll have some more information, and we'll have some more stuff to talk about with Matthew Matson on Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. We will have a spoiler breakdown and our thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine Tuesday night. And I guess that's the next time I will see y'all. So keep it up. And yes, Eric Thurman, I have seen Megan Fox's kids, 3 young boys that she forces them to wear dresses, and you can see the looks on their faces. They are not real thrilled about it. But it seems that whatever they drink in the water, or whatever's in the water they drink in Hollywood, somehow it's like a freaking echo chamber up there, and they all do the same shit. It's fucking weird. Super weird. But yeah, man, we'll see you on Tuesday, Eric. Thanks for everybody hanging out and chilling out for a couple hours, and I appreciate it. And it's a little different show than the other ones. So But yeah, it's time for Betty Bye, my friends. But yeah, y'all have a good night. I will see y'all on Tuesday. Thank you so much. And until then, I will leave you with this.